Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We very much appreciate the opportunity to present to you today on how you can accelerate your quote to order process. I'm Shelley Horn. I'm the Director of Industry Solution Strategy for Infor CPQ, and I have with me my colleague Konrad Gren, a product specialist, and he will be the person that will take additional questions, and you'll have his contact information at the end. Before we get started, we want to talk about focusing on the buyers and the sellers. So when we think about that quoting process, who are we talking about? And so I have a little video prepared for you to give you an idea of how you can engage users, whether it's a consumer or a dealer, a distributor, or anyone like that. So we want to make sure that you can see it in real life. So we'll take a look and watch the screen as the tiles change on the ground. It completely changes the look and feel of this particular bathroom. So even though we're using tile changes right now, you can think about how the lighting could be changed. Right now there are, those black lights hanging from the ceiling. You could do a whole different type of lamp with entirely different light bulbs, and it could completely change the whole look and feel. So this is one of the examples of what we want you to take away on being able to picture the possibilities of how you can provide a different experience to virtually any user. When we're looking at buyers and sellers, buying habits have changed significantly over the last 5 years. Even back in 2018, 83% of buyers pointed to product imagery as their most influential factor, and 50% of the time they had already identified specific products or solutions before they talked to anybody in any sales department. And with COVID, work from home, sell from home, and just all the changes, we know that even then, 75% of first-time digital buyers or sellers were going to continue to use those channels going forward. And so the ability to interact with whatever user that you have in their particular manner is what's so important. And that's how you can drive the increase in quotes, the increase in quote conversions, streamline your processes and reduce the friction. And when we think about why imagery, why is that so important? It's because we as humans process images 60,000 times faster. That's why we're addicted to our phones. That's why our children love video games. That's why everything now is about, images and videos and blogs, because we crave that interaction and our brains process the information so much faster. So looking at the variety of different industries that you're all in today, buyers and sellers can be different. If you're a pump manufacturer, your customer service department might be responsible for taking change orders. The specifications at the customer site have changed, and now we need to figure out which pump is going to meet our needs because we're going to be moving twice the amount of material that was originally planned. If you're a lighting manufacturer, your customer service department might be more focused on what's the status of my order. Maybe if you're producing, tangible goods that ship same day, your customer service department might be handling RMAs or additional change orders or those types of things. And so understanding the role that customer service has in your organization and what they really want to do says, okay, well, what do those folks need in order to support the quote to order process and accelerate it? You might also sell through manufacturing reps or dealers and distributors. And again, they may be very, very different. A manufacturing rep may be looking at a product that you have, like a pump or a valve or an industrial component, to say, how do I get that included in a larger assembly? A manufacturing rep might be a hardware rep for windows and doors or some type of furniture. And so they're trying to get their product included in your assemblies. And then you look at the dealer and distributor. Back in the day, dealers and distributors were so familiar with the products at the detail level that they were selling. But as the generations of ownership have changed and technology has improved, what we're seeing is more and more of these second or third generation owners, these dealers and distributors, they don't want to know as much about your product as they used to. So they need tools and capabilities and potentially images for them to be able to interact with your products and ensure that they can very quickly and easily know that they have the right product for the customer that they're serving. Sales engineers, in many cases, are involved in the sales cycles by your company, and they have to provide detailed information. Perhaps they work on specials. We're going to take this very complex bill of material and we're going to make some tweaks to it. And we have to make sure that one, we can make it, and two, how are we going to price that? So a sales engineer has a whole different set of requirements in order to accelerate that quote to order process than customer service, a manufacturing rep, or a dealer and distributor. And then there's the anonymous user. And so being able to take all of the data, the logic, the imagery, and the capabilities that you offer these other personas, how is it that you engage an anonymous user? That person, whether it's a consumer, it could even be a dealer, distributor, manufacturing rep, but you're providing an anonymous experience, perhaps from your public website, so they can research your product, they can engage with your product, and they can play with it to meet their needs. The more that they stay on your site working on your tools, the more chances that you have that yours will be one of the down selected products or solutions, and that they'll move forward by taking that from research to lead, and lead to quote, and then quote to order. We're going to talk about some specific customer examples later in the presentation, but there is a customer, Lippert, and they make an awning that hooks onto an RV. And what they've done is their experience to design and order your own awning now through e-commerce has significantly improved their business. It also helps their dealers and distributors, because when folks have the opportunity to engage with the product on their own from their couch, at 10:30 at night, then when they go in and talk to the RV dealer or distributor about purchasing that awning, it is a buying transaction instead of a selling kicking the tires, or we're going to go through quoting, or show me what you have. Oh, what you have on your showroom isn't exactly what I'm looking for. So what they've reported is that time from research to order has significantly shrunk. It uses less touches, and that friction has been reduced. So in general, across the Infor CPQ solution, there's really 3 areas where we help streamline your processes. That's that digital engagement, that imagery, that experience that we talked about. But making sure during that research of quote to order that they also have all the content that they need. Many of you may not have necessarily a configured item, but what you might have is a very specific configuration or selection process that you go through to determine what is the best product for this particular application. So if you're a lighting manufacturer, for example, you may say, this is how bright I want the room to be. This is how large the room is. What types of lighting do I need? Do I want them to be fixed to the ceiling? Do I want them to be fixed to the wall? Do they float? How does all of that work, right? So when you're asking the questions, you're really driving more to a product versus saying, okay, I'm starting with this light and now I want to change the color, the light bulbs, the size of the frame, and those types of things. And then, of course, we're going to take all this great information that we've gathered, that someone has spent the time to enter into a system or play with, and we want to be able to rapidly take that from a quote to an order and get it fulfilled and down to the shop as soon as possible. So you have the ability within Infor CPQ to choose where to start. If what's really happening in your organization is you're having just a heck of a time trying to get accurate orders. After you've received the order, now I've got to make it and I want to reduce the scrap or the rework or the returns that I have on the back end. You may want to start more here with CPQ, talking about manufacturing conversion. Maybe you create a smart part number. Maybe you're creating 2D drawings for certain sales orders and those types of things. So you might say, we're going to focus a little bit more on that back end and how that drives ERP to manage the orders. But you might say, you know what, we just don't get enough leads. Our competitors, our number one competitor is in every opportunity that we're in, but we're not in all of theirs. How can we do that? And so you can use CPQ through anonymous usage, but you can also say, all right, we're going to start working through our CRM solution and we're going to tie this to campaigns. And then we're going to be able to very quickly create a quote, a pro forma quote, a budgetary estimate, and we can start reaching out proactively to some of our customers, showing them our new products, making sure that dealers and distributors have exactly what you have and what's available in your product catalog immediately when it's released versus relying on price books and those types of things. So being able to tie the selection process for that estimate to opportunity management, have workflows and approvals. We've got a special, we need a special price. What can we do here? And then even getting down into more details where we're focused more on that selection and estimating management, right? How are we producing those estimates? Maybe it's not really something where there's a quick sales process. Okay, we've picked the right product, we're going to put that in the cart and we're going to order it. Perhaps you need to have versions of the software. There was a trailer manufacturer that told us once that they had an average of 33 versions of the trailer, the semi-truck trailer, before there was a purchase. And it used to take them 2 days to produce any updated version. Well, being able to reduce that to minutes significantly streamlined their process and took 60 days out of that selling effort, right? So being able then to provide even dynamic user-based pricing, generating a quote or order document. So there are a lot of different ways and different places that you can start, but because we're focused today on accelerating the quote to order process, we're going to focus mostly on the areas that you see there with the dotted line. But I want to point out that regardless of where you start, the same logic and the same data that is inside the Infor CPQ engine can be served up in a variety of different environments in a variety of different ways based on that persona. So understanding that buyer and that seller. The Infor CPQ solution has a wide variety of solution capabilities: multi-channel quoting and ordering, internal quoters, internal estimators, external speccers, potentially contractors, dealers, distributors. So the ability to expand that process. Easy selection and pricing. We have 6 visual engagement and interaction options, and I'm going to talk about those a little further. I mentioned the CRM integration and the ability to create a complete and accurate proposal. I talked about the workflows. We also have analytics, and I'll cover that a bit. But that ability to do all of this work anytime, anywhere, and on any device, this also correlates very closely to accelerating that quote to order process. And then, of course, pushing it down into ERP for order conversion and generation of downstream capabilities and information. So as far as the advanced quoting capabilities go, this is an example of our quoting application. You have, the capabilities that you would expect, right? A quote summary, kind of like a shopping cart, the ability to quote to order and convert that. We also have capabilities to do partial orders. So oftentimes with windows or doors or lighting equipment or even heavy equipment, oftentimes, maybe one building in the office campus or the manufacturing campus is ready. And so we need lighting just for this building or flooring just for this building. So you have the ability to manage that quote and manage how that order is released. And so the addition of using enterprise quoting and those advanced quoting capabilities in the front end by your internal folks often can have them very quickly create that estimate or quote, produce a beautiful quote document, interact with those different versions, and have them do it very quickly so they can focus on more value added activities. So let's say your quote to order ratio is 30%. What that means is that your sales team or your selling channels external to your company are spending 70% of their time working on quotes that don't convert to an order. So that's that ability to create a pro forma quote or an easy quote or allow your selling channels to do that work on their own. That way, when they're serious, right? We've got a real opportunity here, and it's with a large customer. Your internal folks can better focus on those deals that are of higher margin. So that ability to self-serve can significantly reduce the effort. It can also reduce the need to hire people. And I'll give you some examples of that here a little bit later. But being able to easily select and configure and price products. This is an example of that trailer. To think that there would be 33 average revisions of a quote, but there's a lot of different selections here, and oftentimes during the selling process, the specifications change. And so you can see here there's a whole variety of techniques that are used to guide the user through the process, right? There's images. These can be static or dynamic. And what you see over in the right can also be static or dynamic. This happens to showcase 2D CAD automation in line with the quoting process. It's very light, it's very fast, but you see radio buttons. You can do drop downs and a whole variety of different ways that you can provide an experience to the user. You can also provide a variety of tabs up here where they click through, or you can use the scroll bar. You can take this middle section and you can push it to the left, and it will completely change based on the device that you're using, whether it's a tablet or a laptop, and you can expand what's over here from an image side, particularly if you're using a 3D automation where I want to spin this around and look at it. So there's a variety of different things that are very focused on that quoting or estimating process to make it very easy for the user, and it's a very contemporary experience. I mentioned that we have a variety of visualization capabilities, right? And so static images, right? They're not really a differentiator. They're really table stakes, but static images definitely have, places where it's appropriate to use them. So we have that capability. As you saw with the trailer, and you can see with the door, in line, you can make changes to the selections, and you will have it. The system will dynamically and parametrically create a new model on the fly so that user can have that confirmation. We can also provide 3D assemblies like the gearbox, and they can be used downstream in the manufacturing process. These are actually 3D CAD model assemblies. We have the ability to provide real-time interactive 3D capabilities. Like you can see here, this is actually a transformer. And what happens on the job site is when this transformer arrives, right, and the installer is opening it up, the very first thing that they want to do is they want to take and open one of the panels because they're going to check internally that this particular coupler was provided as part of this assembly before they start to assemble it. So that's the visual confirmation that's needed. But what can happen during that quoting and ordering process is you can bring that experience forward and provide it to whoever's producing the quote or the estimate, and you can visually confirm that the exact coupler is there. So in some cases on the job site, you don't have to wait for the installer to, potentially take this door off so they can ensure that the coupler that they wanted is there. So it's really more of an interactive experience. And then augmented reality, that drives even more engagement because it renders those digital images and data in a buyer's particular space. So this happens to be a piece of industrial equipment, but if you were doing furniture, for example, you could literally put a chair right next to you in your space and see what it looked like. Lighting's another example where you could say, okay, I'm going to hold my tablet tablet up, what would that look like up against the ceiling, whether it's a commercial or a residential application? And then we have the capabilities to provide the photorealistic images. So as you saw with the first video where the the tile was changing, those were photorealistic images, and it was real-time manipulation that changed colors and logos and fabrics. So you have the option to say, I really need a 3D interactive capability. I want to be able to zoom in and turn things around upside down, or do I really just need some confirmation that yes, when I picked a red racing stripe and I picked a certain depth, this is or width, this is what I selected. This is the exact same image behind the scenes. It's just simply an overlay of a different racing stripe. So there's a lot of capabilities, and Infor CPQ and its visualization, it's no longer for companies that are traditional configure to order, make to order, engineer to order, right? It's for companies that need a process to help a user, right, whoever that persona is, find the right product. It can even be a standard product, but the user might not know what they need. So they know what they're trying to accomplish. They just don't know what product of yours that's going to do what they're looking for. Most customers don't want more options or prospects. They just want what they want. So providing an experience that helps them get there faster than your competitors is what wins the deal at the end of the day. We do have CRM integration where you can launch this quoting experience from Infor CRM, Microsoft CRM, or Salesforce. This just happens to be Salesforce, and you can see, if you're familiar with Salesforce, that it looks like Salesforce. So that was the whole idea, is we have theming capabilities that are already out of the box, so your users it looks to them like they're using their native application that they work in all day. We have the ability to provide those compelling proposals, and it will automatically assemble a whole variety of documents that the user needs. So on a case-by-case basis, also at the user level, that user can select at that particular moment in time what they want. Maybe it's a pro forma quote. I want a cover letter, I want a price, and that's it. But perhaps it's further along in the cycle and I need to now be providing spec sheets, warranty information, terms and conditions, those types of things. And maybe it's more towards the end where I'm trying to get this proposal signed and it's going to include contracts and those types of things. So on a case-by-case basis, it can be big or small. And there's a customer that actually took the information from configuration and selection. They would push it to a program that would automatically generate mechanical and electrical schematics, and then that would be part of their overall proposal. So the average page number for those proposals was about 150 once they included the electrical and mechanical schematics. It used to take them 3 weeks to do that. And by using the automation associated with CPQ, they were able to take that down to 15 minutes. Right? So that data, as I mentioned before, can be used in a whole variety of different ways. It can be pushed to non-Infor products. It can be pushed to some of your custom tools. Perhaps if you have custom pricing or you use Access databases or Excel sheets, we can push and pull information from other applications. They don't have to be Infor only. Leveraging the Infor technology stack, we also have workflow capabilities, and this is invaluable for the tracking of who did what, who approved that discount and that proposal. So for example, there was a locker manufacturer that they sell through dealers and distributors, and they had a couple of dealers that were repeatedly not selling the locks with the commercial lockers that were going into a school. So their bids were low and they were winning the business, and then they were coming back and saying, oh shoot, we forgot to sell the locks. Now Mr. Manufacturer, we need you to split the difference with us, and we have to give these to the customer for free. So what they did is they implemented rules that defaulted locks, and the only way to not have locks included in that estimate was to do a workflow, and somebody had to approve the removal of them. So what that did for them is that held margin on their opportunities and their sales orders, and it also held the dealers accountable because they couldn't come back and say, well, we didn't know or we forgot or what have you. They decided to default it in, and the only way to take it off was through special approvals. So that's an example of the power of workflow capabilities. There also are CPQ analytics. So we publish information to the data lake. We use, Infor's burst application to pull the data out and provide the quote analytics associated with that. This can be internal and for your external selling channels. And you can also drill down into the data and go back into CPQ. And this is again leveraging the Infor technology stack. You've seen these types of slides before, right? So that user experience, we do take advantage of that. The collaboration is the workflow. Document management is what we use to create those beautiful proposals. It provides that security, particularly if you're offering it to external users. There is an enterprise application integration framework, which we utilize for all the integrations. We are working on AI capabilities, and that's going to be a big topic in the next release. From an analytics perspective, I mentioned that we have that. And then there's applied machine learning and that extensibility, particularly extensibility using the technology stack to interact with a variety of different applications. It might be your public website. It may be a custom pricing application that I mentioned. The beautiful thing about Infor CPQ being on top of the Infor OS is that we don't have to build the backbone, the guts for any of these capabilities. That's already there for us. And then we just need to make the solutions then CPQ specific. So when we talk about what CPQ provides and that real value, today we're really focused mostly on increasing sales and differentiating brand, right? Accelerating that quote to order process. But we also have the ability to help reduce the costs. And so I have some specific customer examples. So CombiLift, they're a forklift manufacturer, and they increased their revenue per transaction by 30%. Accurate Partitions makes bathroom partitions and a variety of different case goods. And for them, they reduced their training time by 50%. And so people that were writing rules could more quickly get that done. They were able to speed new product introduction. And it also took 50% less time for the folks that were doing the quoting to get those processes done. Great Plains Manufacturing, they provided a very intuitive sales process. And the thing that they did is that they increased their sales volumes 5 times over a 10-year period, and they did not have to hire any additional resources. So in your company, perhaps you're getting pressure from the CEO to increase sales on top of what you're already doing. Well, that may mean that as we increase sales, we're going to need to increase sales or engineering headcount to support it, or we're not going to be able to handle it. But by implementing Infor CPQ, you have the possibility to eliminate the need for hiring those additional resources in the future to be able to support the increase in those sales volumes. And then Overhead Door, they are a leader in residential garage doors and commercial rolling doors. And for them, Infor CPQ improved their brand loyalty and provides a game-changing experience. So there may be situations where particular products maybe they have a better warranty, or maybe the distributor or the dealer just likes the way they look a little bit for the competition. However, because it is so easy for them to quote and order, those quotes and orders are always complete, and it provides a lot less friction between them and the buyer. They quote and order overhead doors more often. So that's why it's a game-changing experience. So we deliver real value and real results for our customers. So what you're going to see here, these are real, both industry statistics as well as some that the customers have actually received. So think about a 90% reduction in the quote errors. 95% reduction in the order errors, and there's that training time. So the average reduction in training time our customers get is about 75%, and 65% decrease in the time it takes to build a quote. But then from a brand differentiation, this is where the visualization can be super powerful and the conversion can increase 40%. So I talked about Lippert and how they added that visual configuration to their awning builder. And now when the customer comes to the dealership, those are buying transactions, not research and evaluation transactions. And being able then to convert those quotes to orders without having any human intervention, right? So that 78% touchless order conversion. So those are some of the examples of the value that our customers have received. And the last thing that I want to cover is in September 8 through 10, in Columbus, Ohio, where the CPQ development and services hubs are, we're having a 2.5-day user conference, Infor CPQ Connect. There's 3 tracks, an executive track, a business track, and a technical track. There will be a user group meeting over lunch and some extended learning sessions. But you'll be able to talk to existing customers, and there will be a significant number of Infor CPQ development services support resources there for you to interact with, which is a very different thing for a lot of the Infor events because there's just such a large number of CPQ resources in Columbus, Ohio. Also within the CPQ product, there is a CPQ user group. We have over 500 members. And as you know, Infor has just rolled out a new platform for that, but you can check it out. If you're licensed for the product, you'll be able to get in and take a look. And if there are others that don't have Infor CPQ yet and you'd like to have a tutorial, Konrad Gren is certainly available to do that for you, and his contact information will come up here in a moment. The very last thing that I want to do is play this video.
Imagine you're in the market for an ultra-luxury car. This example will showcase how Infor's enterprise CPQ solution can be easily adapted to align with virtually any user experience. Aston Martin differentiates their brand by providing a tailored buying experience with rich visual representations of each selection. The user can interact with the products in the scene to give them a good visualization on how the products will fit their needs. A variety of options are available, such as a 360-degree view, the ability to change from daytime to nighttime renderings, and view your products in a variety of different environments. A summary can be viewed, detailing all of the user's configuration selections. Send this to a dealer, and even save your options, as a configuration code is generated, allowing you to come back at any time. This is just one example of how Infor's enterprise CPQ solution can be leveraged during an anonymous buyer's research and selection process. This exact same solution can be used to drive e-commerce, buying experiences, B2B customer and distributor quoting and ordering capabilities, internal sales usage, as well as the creation of dynamic, as-configured, fully parametric CAD drawings and models. Bill of materials, routings, and kits to satisfy virtually any user experience requirement in today's visual environment. That's why Infor continues to be widely regarded by analysts as the best solution for manufacturers and distributors, and why 99% of our customers are willing to recommend Infor.
That's all we have to present for today. Want to thank you again for your attention. And if you have any additional questions, please contact Konrad Gren. His information is here. And this PowerPoint will be available to all of you that signed up. Thanks again.